my topic is one very delicate topic. It is actually the analysis of the techniques, methods, and mechanisms of deploying the disinformation as the tool of the hybrid warfare, which is strongly implemented by Russia in actually last 100 years and so. I have analyzed the main clues, main drivers, and question 4 is why is those disinformation so successful? How is possible that they giving results in the impact on our societies? What can be done to prevent it? How to understand it properly? And how to identify it as security threat for the national security and welfare of the society? This diagram is something which I'm using very often when I'm giving the lectures about the matrix of the hybrid warfare on Balkans, but it can be very easily applicable on the whatever region on the world. It is only matter to identify the key strategic goals. When we are familiar with those strategic goals, then we are very easily can develop and understand the roles of the other contributes to the strategic goals. If we know that Russian optimal main goal is the prevention of the Euro-Atlantic integration of this region, the next goal, also strategic, is creation of the so-called belt of neutral countries, then we can very easily trace their activities in this region. Those activities and fulfilling of that final goal is not alone. We have disinformations as only one part of the puzzle. This part is also very important for the successful deployment of the disinformation. Energy blackmail is only supportive element, but not the dominant factor, and covert operation. We can very easily say that energy blackmail, which is so active now those days, we can listen to stories that without Russian gas, everybody collapse, nothing will work here in our region. And so because of it, we should take care about Russian interests. But in the proper way, energy blackmail maybe exist. Somebody will say it does not exist if you are part of the European Union, but this is very active threat, which actually is supporting the disinformation narrative about Russian gas, Russian friendship, that Russia is global player who support other countries and so on, and objective circumstances. Objective circumstances are very much important because every successful Russian disinformation is based on already present divideness in the society, religion, multi-ethnic, transition period, economic circumstances, war crimes and so on, and they are building and developing the story based on the something which already exists. People are believe in the conspiracy theories, they are amplifying it, but they also inventing conspiracy theories, but those theories are very long time cultivated, and that is why they are successful. This is called, my colleague will speak later after me, but it is actually called the laundering of the information. Okay, the goal of the Russian hybrid activities, I mentioned this, prevention of the Euro-Atlantic integration of the region, political influence on the state and its population, anti-Western feelings, anti-Ukrainian feelings, they are very dominant and intensified before February and after, of course, undermining trust in democracy, human rights and rule of law. This is the common problem for the whole Western Balkan, but also it is the problem for the post-Soviet area because they want to present to us that democracy, that the rule of law, that is all the weaknesses of the modern states, and that modern states, because those weaknesses are not superior like Mr. Putin, who is the Superman, he riding a bear, he has the best weapons on the world and everything, and all others who obey to the democratic procedures, they are weak, they are pedophiles, they are like that, and so on. And also multi-ethnical divisions, which are actually our objective problem, which we have in this region, also supported with the radicalization, but it does not matter that they will not use it. In example, news in the Serbia, news in the North Macedonia, news in the Albania. Every of that news play on this card, but the content which I will receive in Serbia will not be the same like content which will be received in Albania. But actually the creator of this content is the same center, same intelligence service. So to understand this, we must know what kind of the informational environment we have. What is the existing information channels, what is new information channels, what are the levels of the media literacy, what is the levels of the media responsibility, what is the reach of that channels. And for the security, the most dangerous thing is when the disinformation occupy the mainstream media channels, where those disinformations are accepted as completely legitimate social discourse, the legitimate topic without any kind of the distancing to say, look, this is not true, this is fake. And that is actually how is created the believings among the population, because our center conduct one research of the public opinion, and we realized that 1/3 of the population between 25 and 65 years, they actually believe in the well-known disinformation, well-known fake news conspiracy theories, because they receiving such content. The new information channels are very interesting. They was present but not very active before aggression to Ukraine. This is actually exploitation of the Telegram channels. We have the problem with Telegram channels before, but the difference is that we can say it is new channel because those channels increased for more than 200,000 users after the aggression on Ukraine. You have dozens of that channels which actually copy pasting the same content, but the increase of the followers is something which is very significant, and we must admit that it must be a new channel, and we should monitor it, analyze, understanding it as completely new. The future is manifested in the use of non-state. The future is manifested in the use of non-state actors in coordination with the state service foreign governments without doubt. One for sure. Using non-state actors, using irregular actors will not be possible in such operation without coordination with intelligence services. They are applying military logic, they are applying resources, they are producing the materials. It is not possible, and nobody can say me that one conspiracy theorist can make such complex, some, let's say on the first look, very logic statements. Those statements, because they are using various data from various periods of times, abusing of the statistical data, manipulation of the facts, all those must be prepared by something which we calling creative teams. Those creative teams are always the intelligence, because only them has such huge resources for fabrication, the content in the purpose of purifying the strategical goals. In the case of the Ukraine, and when we speak about the content, we can very easily see that without any kind of the understanding, media in Western Balkans allowed pure hate speech against Ukrainians, against their identity, against their right to live, against the basic foundation for the self-defense and everything, and that also entering the criminal code. But unfortunately, none of those states on the Western Balkan does not apply in criminal code for the hate speech against Ukraine nation, which is in all legislation. This is offensive, no doubt. Also, the one of things is that the consequences for the supporting aggressive war, which is also defined in the criminal code, which says no one can support aggressive war. Those criminal code is also not obeyed. Nobody was charged because of this. And this is the obligations which are implemented in the domestic regulation according to the international conventions. So it means they are mandatory to be applied. But unfortunately, it is not. I have problem with the... Thank you. Those information environment I have already mentioned. We have dozens portal with or without impressum. They all generating coordinated content, pre-prepared content. They have cycles you can trace every week. 1 week they have one message box, second week everybody will have another message box. This is very strict discipline, so it gives us the clue that the whole deployment is organized, monitored, and have a very good feedback. Opinion makers is also one of the phenomenon. This is all those so-called public analysts, writers, intellectuals, whatever. They are very interesting because they are using their public authority to completely deceive public debate, to actually manipulate public debate, to spread the doubts for everything, for everybody, and to create completely different picture instead of the reality. Those opinion makers are already used in so many cases during the Cold War, so this is not a new method. This is only amplified method. YouTube channels are very familiar to everybody, and social network. There is two interesting dates. First date is 2014, actually in 2015, after armed rebellion in the Ukraine, the Sputnik was established on the Serbian language for the whole Balkan. Now, after aggression to Ukraine, the RT Balkan was established a couple months after beginning of the aggression. This is two very significant activities which actually showing to us that maybe we cannot have technical evidence, maybe we cannot have intelligence evidence, because we are all people which are working with the open source data and analyzing the content. But if we analyze behavioral component, content component, method component, if we analyze narratives, we can very easily attribute such activities to the one and only foreign country in this moment, the Russian Federation. And they also have the defense countermeasure, because they will always manipulate facts from the Western journals, from the Western medias. In example, if somebody is speaking about rain tonight, they will only say, today it will be rain, but not tonight, but in the morning. How you know? They wrote it will be rain. No. It was written exactly night, and that is how they manipulate fact. And I can say that in the disinformation environment, we have fake things, we have disinformation, but one of the very, let's say, huge and big volume is those manipulation of the true facts. This is something which is very active from the July this year. Telegram is also interested. I spoke already about it, and they have dozens of those channels on the Serbian language. One channel have more than 20,000 subscribers. Other channels have more than that. In the total, it is approximately 200,000 people just in the few months. Examples of this information which we have identified, and thanks to our colleagues from the Stop Fake, we collaborated a lot with them. Every time when we find some let's say, incident, we will contact them, and mostly before all others, we will publish and debunk some myths, some fake news, some hate speech, which was actually published in the main headlines of the newspaper. And thanks to the colleagues from the Stop Fake, we was always debunking those claims on our websites and everywhere else when we have chance to counter them. And you can see, this is the chronologically how information space was prepared here in Serbia and Western Balkans in general. The first thing was blaming America. Why? Because Russians tried to negotiate with America about Ukraine destiny. Of course, that collapsed during the January. So after the blaming America, they started to blame directly NATO, indirectly Ukraine. After that, they started Russian language, and then everybody of us know what happened in 24 February, and this is the chronological disinformation landscape, how it was gone by the priorities in Serbia. And all of those information go in the cycles. They never repeat it in the first time of the aggression, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 6, until week 10. So there is a pattern how it is deployed, and nobody can say that this is uncoordinated, authentic activity. Why those disinformation are successful? First of all, it is media literacy, because here on Western Balkans, we actually does not know what is media, what is not media, what is tabloids. We do not make such difference. Here, everything and everybody can be journalists, can be media. It is very easily to publish content, to represent yourself as media, in case to be designated as foreign agents of influence. They are medias. So a lot of jobs should be done. Also, the other actors like European Union, like USA, like NATO and others should contribute more in the fighting of those disinformation, should build much more better and stronger connections with the media portals, also with medias which are critic to the European Union. I think that relations should be cultivated, so sooner or later those medias maybe will change opinion, maybe sometimes they will transfer the counter information or dementi, whatever, but I think that work also must be supported. It cannot stay only on our people which are which are academicians, NGO activists and so on. Lack of legal framework, this is also very interesting. In case of the Slovakia, they have the law which actually deploying of this information treating as radicalization, and they dedicating full capacity of the institutions to counter them. In example of Serbia, you have in the national strategy for security, you have only 2 times mentioning disinformation. First time in the security environment without any definition. What is it? What is the threat for the security? Is it challenge? Is it risk? Is it threat? Nothing, just as something which is present in the security environment. So the legal framework must be done on that way that actors which are actually involved as media must be designated as somebody who's spreading this information, and those designations must to be done by the official political representatives in the state institutions. It is not the job for the private initiative, by my opinion, because state cannot be dependent without institutions. If institutions do not want or do not can or whatever to designate some activity as disinformation, as threat for the public health, NGOs and all others of us, we can only publish it on our website. We can say something in the publicly, but designation without official stamp does not contribute to the activity of the other institutions. Manipulation of the public debate. This is very interesting because for this they need the opinion makers, which I have explained. So this is one of the narratives which are very successfully deployed only because so-called independent analysts. Emotional manipulation and techniques, this will speak my colleague. Usage of mainstream media, of course. Lack of political will for attribution of disinformation. This is very crucial, because without it, we know where we live. We live in the Western Balkans. People do not believe in the NGOs. NGOs are on the constantly attack by the political stakeholder. NGOs are always suspicious, and this is some other story. But because of it, I think that everybody who is researching this phenomenon in the proposition and recommendation should insist that political attribution of such operations, no matter is it influence operations, is it information, influence operation, fake news, they must be designated. And of course, the relevant strategies and law should be changed according to the new battlefield which we have in every house on the Western Balkan. And perception as security threat, which I also mentioned. This is also important, but unfortunately, when I look to the national security strategies on the Open Balkan Initiative countries, I didn't find much materials which will tell me that state understand the implication of the disinformation. What can be done? I also mentioned it. Public-private partnerships. That is most important thing. If we look how we will recognize that there is an influence operation, in example, on Facebook, on Twitter, on TikTok, on Telegram, we can analyze narratives. We can analyze content in the time frame. We can analyze method, how it was spread. Is it destructive humor? Is it forged documents? Is it forged interviews? But technical aspect of attribution cannot be done alone, because in most cases, Facebook will not provide data, in example, for our Center for Strategic Analysis to analyze unauthentic user behavior. Facebook will say, we're protecting privacy, we will not give you the data, or Twitter. On other hand, some technical signal analysis, so-called, it cannot be done without proper cyber knowledge, cyber company, which have the legal basis to do such signal analysis to see from which center are coordinated certain content. And third one is intelligence work and intelligence knowledge, which is also not at our disposal. So because of it and all those legal limitations, I think this conference is very useful, very nice and good beginning for the public advocacy. Once again, thank you, Liana, for assembling us all here, because this public-private partnership is the key point, how we can fill each other gap. Maybe we here have in this room sensibility to understand destructive narratives, to understand what Russian Federation doing here, what China doing here, what Turkey doing here. But the tools and legal basis are not on our side. So through advocacy on the legal framework, we are coming to the public-private partnership, which has, I think, Ukraine now in these war times. We can use their practice here for education to providing models, but also Eretz Israel has also such practice, which is useful. United States has those practices with the DFIR lab of the Atlantic Council and so on. So it is not something which not yet exists. And membership in the international organization. I think I spoke too long, so I will not elaborate anymore.